Welcome to another edition of the Adam Dunn Show. I'm your host, Adam Dunn.
I'm Dave Charnick.
And I'm Katie.
And we're all over the place today.
All over the place.
Dave's Han Solo right now, waiting for Chewbacca. You're now the new Han Solo.
I'm feeling fucking zooted.
Chewbacca's on his way. So we will see Miles in the studio in a little while. But what we did have was a showcase show because we're only a couple weeks into this after months and months of preparation about talking about it. But now it's happening. Rubber's hitting the road. So we brought back Mr. Tony Minniti again, Mr. F, and he's going to get us all scared, as he does always, tell us how hard it's going to be, but at the same time, give us some reality, I think. And Katie's outside of the studio today. I'm outside of the studio. I'm at home. So it's one of those shows. It's a wacky one.
So for those of you who don't know, Tony Minniti runs Camden Apothecary is it Pennsylvania, right? And
no, New Jersey.
New Jersey, sorry. Camden, New Jersey. And he is possibly the only person that we know of who not only owns and runs a licensed dispensary, but he is a pharmacist, a licensed pharmacist, and operating a pharmacy. And when we met him several months ago, it was after he wrote an article on LinkedIn asking people to please pay attention to what was about to happen if we went Schedule 3 and trying to put questions out to the industry so that they could ask those questions to protect themselves should Schedule 3 happen. And our last discussion did not make everybody feel good, but it was the reality of the day that there is no way to have a Schedule 3 drug without a doctor's prescription, with your medicine dispensed from a licensed pharmacy, always being kept in the original bottle with your name on it, and sort of saw this as conflicted with the current way cannabis is dispensed. So welcome back to the show, Tony. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure's all mine, Dave. As always, it's great to be able to check in and visit whenever I can, and especially share some of the experience that I've had and all those years of working in a pharmacy and seeing the way pharmacy has gone over the decades and trying to take those cautionary tales to our cannabis industry to make sure we don't suffer some of the same loss of our industry as what's happened with pharmacists and pharmacy over time. So it's very important, and the fact that I have that ability to contribute to our industry is it's something I take very seriously. As you know, when you first contacted me right after the executive order, the first thing I said was I wanted to read this order and see exactly what it said, not what the media said it said, not what the president said it said, or the people behind him said. I wanted to see what it actually said, and I've been able to take that time and really go through it. And I think I could separate, some of the good news, some of the things I see progress on, and some things that I think are, not exactly truthful. And what I'm doing is giving a factual breakdown or analysis of where we are and where we stand today. That's not colored through the lens of somebody who's rooting on one side or the other, because, as I said, I have feet in both worlds. I am a pharmacist. I own a pharmacy. I am a proud dispensary owner. They're side by side, right in the same building. So it's a great little thing we have going. And I want to see what's best for the cannabis industry. And that is not as easy as just the reclassification argument seems to try to make it appear. And I'm here to answer questions, of course. I'm going to hopefully start off by giving you a brief lay of the land, and I am at your disposal for every question that you want to ask. And of course, if anyone's watching and wants to send me questions, you can get me through LinkedIn, or we'll have my email somewhere, I'm sure. You can email me. I'm more than happy to share. But in going over the executive order, I think we have to see what's exactly happened. And in short, nothing has happened. Right. We are no different after the announcement of this executive order from a process standpoint than we were before the executive order. Now, what I do see is as a real positive is the president is pushing for cannabis normalization, and that's what we're starting to see. So I'm going to look at this first in the positive sense and say, wow, what a great step. We finally have a president who says, yes, it should be, he's using reclassified. I tend to think that not being trained in pharmacy and the law, he probably doesn't really understand what that means. He probably has what most understand, which is, well, Schedule 1 is bad, so Schedule 3 has to be better, right? That's how they view it. So what the executive order does is it does show that there's an expression of support of moving us towards cannabis normalization, which is, I think, a better term. And I also think that that is a strong statement. What the executive order does is ask the Department of Justice, the DEA, the FDA, all the affiliated agencies to move towards this idea or to continue the process of analyzing reclassification of the drug. We have to understand what the Controlled Substances Act is, and that's established law that was passed by Congress and signed by the duly elected president at the time. The president has no authority to reclassify a drug. He can't do it through an executive order. He can't amend the Controlled Substances Act by the swish of a pen or a declaration of any sort. And if you skip to the back or page 3 of the executive order, they go to very great detail explaining exactly what the limitations of that executive order are. And to cut to the bottom of it, the executive order in plain language states that what he's saying or what he's signing is not in any way able to supersede existing law, to take away the authority of the affiliated agencies to do their due diligence, to follow process, all of those things. So he hasn't done anything. There is no reclassification by declaration. Reclassification of a drug or any substance only occurs through a process. And that process was actually initiated a year or two ago under President Biden. Dave, that's what we were talking about the very first time. We're really kind of still in that. But what he's done and what is that significant shift is you've never had an executive come out and flat out declare it should be reclassified as less dangerous. Unfortunately, much of the language that was used in the discussion of what the executive order did is potentially problematic. And if you go back and listen to what they said, I want you to think about where you've heard this before. It talks about research. They talk about medical use of cannabis. They talk about research to determine medical use, but also develop prescribing and dosing guidelines.
Big Pharma.
I don't know about you. To me, that sounds like everything that every new drug must go through. Mm-hmm. And that's why I say you have to kind of listen with an ear to these sort of buzzwords. Sure, research is terrific. We want research. We want to a degree the medical value of cannabis to be realized and recognized. But what we don't want, while we do want that, what we don't want to do is have it go down this path that turns it into just another pharmaceutical where, okay, research is great. Well, we find out this, an indica really does well with sleep, and sativa could be used for these sorts of conditions. It's good to have that. But when we get into too much research, when we get into declarations being made, prescribing and dosing guidelines, you are now talking about a new drug application. That's where I have concerns.
So I think where we're going right now is into the
It's a whole new era of medicine.
So before we go down that path, let me just throw a question out to you. Do you see the potential or any potential in the fact that, one, no doctor will ever prescribe smoking anything That is never going to
Our
happen.
doctors are going to prescribe whatever they're told to prescribe, Dave.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying.
At this point, if it
Gotta put it in your butt.
No, but I'm not talking about that. I'm saying, is there a way that early on right now they could separate out cannabis as an extracted, researched medicine and smoking flower and say that, you know what, at least for now, we're going to move the smoking to the side. That's going to be regulated by the states. You already have a process in place for that. You collect taxes, you oversee it. There is some oversight, I guess, in licensure, but in regards to federal research for making drugs, that's going to be a pharmaceutical driven.
I think that what we. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't say anything.
That was my
That was one of our drops. We have drops all through the show, Tony.
Hated it.
Okay.
If you hear anything weird like that, it'll be me.
I'm just trying to find a way that our side can get the relief they're asking for with 280E, that they can still dispense cannabis.
That's literally all that. That's literally
Right.
all.
That's what we care about.
That's well, not.
I mean, basically they can because it's just what Tony just said. They haven't changed anything. They haven't right, Tony. As of right now, it's business as usual, and more. We're talking about cannabis more. That's a plus. We're normalizing cannabis through these conversations. There's people I know that are not in the cannabis industry that are like, "Hey, I'm talking to me about this just because President Trump talked about it," and. I'm grateful for more conversation being had around this plant. It's hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube, though. We know how beneficial this plant is. We know that people can just grow it at home. And so I'm curious, what is their
Seems
move
like we got
around that?
Preparation
What
H
is the
instead,
solution around that? Huh?
We might have got Preparation H instead of toothpaste, though.
Well, just what is the solution around that? How do you tell patients that that's no longer available to them? That just.
But does the patient, does anyone in the government really care about the patient? They care about the pharmaceutical industry.
Who cares? There's more of us than there are of them. If we make a big enough fuss about this as patients, as caregivers, as people that really care about this plant and care about people's health.
But we don't pay the lobbyists. That's the difference.
We don't give them money.
The pharmacists pay the lobbyists the money to make it happen.
Gosh, you guys really feel like we have that little control. I feel like there's the big enough voices that are curious about.
I love that you feel that way,
money.
Katie, but it's like what you said. If now that cannabis is being discussed and it's an open conversation, too many people are falling to are going to believe.
Well, right now it's under Schedule 1, and Schedule 1 is worse, and we're being able to work with the plant.
But is it?
So I want to be solution oriented here. What are solutions? We definitely. What are solutions?
Let's start off with this, Katie, and this is what people have to understand. Under Schedule 1, there are no regulations other than it's prohibited. It's not deemed to have any medical use. When you go from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, Schedule 3 is highly regulated because there is a medical use. If there's a medical use, then it qualifies as a drug and would then have to go through the FDA approval process because there's a medical use. See, right now, they don't recognize the medical use, so the FDA is out of it.
I guess I'm curious how that works. Like what you said, they're getting into, they can't patent nature. So how do you, they're going to have to create a molecule. They're going to have to synthesize there's going to have to be a process to just do individual molecules. And so
that's how it always starts off. To give you a little bit of history behind it, because cannabis is not unlike a lot of other botanicals. More or less, many of our drugs originate from botanicals that were chemically manipulated. You look at opium, which brings about morphine, and then they keep tweaking it. Then it was oxycodone, hydrocodone, all the way to fentanyl. But it started with the poppy.
Yeah.
Okay. So conceivably, cannabis could go down that same path. The problem that you have, though, is once pharma gets a hold of it, in the existing structure of the Controlled Substances Act and the rigid classification system that we have, what you're discussing and what you're talking about, it's not accommodated in the Controlled Substances Act. That's the problem.
Well, I mean, I grow poppies in my backyard, so I guess you went exactly to where I was. What I was gonna say is, he says, but like, is it gonna be like that? Nobody's coming over here telling me I can't grow those beautiful plants.
Because you are allowed to grow poppies, you just can't process it into opium. That's where it becomes illegal. The moment you take that razor blade and excuse me, I'm not teaching anybody how to do anything. The moment you extract opium from the poppy, that's when it becomes so. On that same logic that you just said, that's what people believe. They believe that,
as long as you don't take down your plants and process whatever weird synthetic shit they're going to come up with anyway.
No, you can grow your cannabis, you just can never smoke it. I
mean, it doesn't necessarily say that. Wouldn't it be like you just can never process it into like blankety blank molecule that
Katie, I love your heart and I love your spirit.
I'm just curious. I'm really curious how that's going to work.
But
pharmacy.
But what we're talking about right now is that, can it work? Is there room for both to exist?
What do you think, Tony?
I think there is, and not that this is a perfect comparison, but to Dave's point about smoking versus consumption, let's look at nicotine, right? So nicotine comes from tobacco, obviously, and you get it in cigarettes. You can smoke it. No medical professional is going to really recommend that you smoke nicotine, but you can also get processed nicotine in the form of like Zyn, those other tablets. And then there's pharmaceutical grade nicotine, which is like Nicorette, Nicotrol inhalers, or things like that are used for smoking cessation. So the idea that it could be done, it could be, but the difference is nicotine isn't regulated under the Controlled Substances Act. So you can kind of have that. So you have that duality. Once the issue here is not normalization of cannabis, it's not, what I always say, declassification is probably the better route. What I'm saying is scheduling it as a Schedule 3 substance under the Controlled Substances Act.
It just makes everything worse, doesn't it? I mean, it literally does.
Right.
Well, 1,000 times worse. It makes it more criminalized. Like you're a way bigger criminal under Schedule 3 than you are under Schedule 4.
And I'm going to give
you there you go, Katie. Yes, that's what
I get it. I grew up like as a criminal though, so in my mind I'm just like, all right, we got to just be more fucking creative. Fuck y'all suck if you really don't have our best interest at heart, and that's shitty.
Well, no, what you were saying there, Tony, what you were saying, Tony, about the nicotine, it makes it like as you're saying it, it's like that's exactly where cannabis needs to be. You know what I mean? It's exactly what.
But that is descheduled.
Exactly. That's.
I mean, do you see any?
It makes the most sense though,
like alcohol or nicotine,
because nicotine has its own. Nicotine has medical value too.
I was going to say they don't admit nicotine even has medical value,
but it has.
Right? I was going to say, so part of the whole spiel through Western medicine is they don't even. It's all cessation stuff. They don't recommend nicotine for anything. I've not been. But do you guys give it to any patients for anything other than cessation?
A lot of people take it just to take, like they just enjoy nicotine.
It's just not prescribed by doctors as a beneficial ingredient, and it really is. It's really powerful and potent. So I'm just curious. There's nothing from Schedule 3 that's ever been descheduled. Is there any history of anything being descheduled from Schedule 3?
No,
I didn't think so either.
Not descheduled. Typically, they move around within the schedule. But I'm going to give you another good example of a scheduled drug. Everybody thinks cocaine is a Schedule 1 substance. It's not. It's Schedule 2, like OxyContin is. Okay. You don't see prescriptions for cocaine, but you can get cocaine. It's typically used for a topical anesthetic. It's usually more hospital uses.
I'm sure it's used a lot more than that, but
it's used to scent the room.
But when we talk about what happens, let's look at cocaine. Is there recreational cocaine? Is there safe banking for cocaine, for revenue derived from cocaine.
I know, that's what I mean. It's like
So-
going to force people to be more creative,
Yeah,
because a
the
lot of people that did come to this industry, there are actually, I mean, there's
Yeah,
criminals
because
in
the
every
doctor's
industry.
never going to recommend smoking cocaine either.
No, a doctor.
Right, no, totally.
I remember when I worked in anesthesia, seeing a couple of those prescriptions come through for cocaine. The first time you see that, you're kind of like, oh, wow. Okay. Okay. You know, and I feel like we could get to a place as a country, as a people, that we are just more educated in all of this stuff.
I
You
think
know,
Here's what I think.
just-
Here's where I think we need to go first. I think we need to stop the reclassification effort, because once it's reclassified, that's it. They've got it.
It's just
and
more
you're
illegal.
never going to get control back, and it's all going to go right back underground again. So what I think, you know, the Safe Banking Act has been up every year for about the last, I don't know, 6 or 7 years. And it seems that most people are trying to get to that 280E reform in the Safe Banking Act, and it never gets passed. So I was kind of thinking that, all right, if you're an observer of how President Trump works, usually does something outlandish, creates chaos, and then he kind of reorders things the way they should be, or tries to at least. But I think that this could have been a push to prod those senators that don't want to pass safe banking to say, okay, wait a minute. There's too many states that don't recognize cannabis at all. You know, there's still 10 states where it's not medical or recreationally permitted.
and 4 of those states are Alabama.
And hey, look, that's what we say about Pennsylvania. But they, could this have been something to spur to say, well, wait a minute. Let's back up on the
poke. That's a massive poke.
reclassification, or reclassifying it as 3 absolutely legalizes it across all 50 states. It absolutely does. A state can't override what the Controlled Substances Act says. I mean, if it could be done, you don't think California would have recreational LSD, mushrooms, cocaine, have everything, you know? I mean, states can't override the Controlled Substances Act, and they can't reclassify or whatever within it. But what I'm hoping is this spurs everybody to back up and say, okay, well, let's get safe banking done. You know, we all agree on that. That's one of the things, you know, if you believe that Trump can do deals the way he does them, let's find the one thing we all kind of agree on, right? We all kind of agree on the tax revenue thing. And by the way, if it does go Schedule 3, it will be prescription only. And in Jersey, and I think in most states, there is no tax on prescription drugs. So what happens to all that revenue that's been coming into these states if it's reclassified and becomes a prescription? Now what are you going to do? You can't tax it anymore. Well, you could try to, but prescription drugs are not taxable. So all that revenue that everybody perceives these states to be receiving would instantly go away. So that's why I'm thinking, and even, you know, when we look at like how kind of like out of left field this executive order is, he just signed a continuing resolution all but outlawing CBD. And all of the conversation at this executive order signing was all about CBD. And it's like, you just signed a law that effectively kills, you know, that CBD as it exists today outside of the dispensary world. So how do you reconcile these conflicts within the Controlled Substances Act and that process with the continuing resolution that closes the hemp ban loopholes? All that stuff doesn't make sense. So in a way, I'm just hoping that this is kind of getting everybody. So, okay, well, you know what? Obviously, this is going to be tougher than we thought. Let's get 280E done now. And I bet you we could get that done. That's really what, and then once that financial pressure is taken off, I think you're going to see everybody's attitude is going to change towards this idea of more restriction under reclassification. Everybody thinks that making it Schedule 3 is going to automatically fix the 280E problem. It doesn't. It doesn't. I've gotten a half a dozen different health law firms that have all independently of one another sent me the exact same guidance that says reclassification to 3 does nothing to solve the 280E and the financing issue. So there is a, you know, we have to look at, what we have to look at is there either has to be a reopening of the Controlled Substances Act to allow for one of these categories that's different, like cannabis. Maybe it's its own category in the CSA, but that would require amending the law, and it would require us doing something. Nobody asks these questions because they don't want to hear the answer. And actually, the DEA's already answered it. You have to ask them. If it is Schedule 3, if all Schedule 3 substances are prescription only, what does that mean if cannabis is Schedule 3? Will you need a prescription? Yes, no. That's it. Yes or no. And if you're saying no, explain to me how that works. When the Schedule 3, right in the manual, says is prescription only. Answer that question. Now, the DEA's already answered this question, but nobody wants to acknowledge it. The DEA came out during the previous, reclassification dust-up and said, cannabis will be treated the same as every other Schedule 3 substance. That means it will be prescription only. That means it will only be available through a pharmacy. That means every company that deals in cannabis will have to be registered with the DEA. It means that every night at 11:59 p.m., every controlled substance that we dispense on the pharmacy side gets uploaded to the prescription drug monitoring program, which means every person's got to give a real name, not a fake name, address, date of birth. Utilization is controlled. They will tell you how much cannabis you can buy per week, per month, per everything, because it's dictated. And you can only possess cannabis, you can only possess a Schedule 3 substance pursuant to a valid doctor's prescription, or I should say a prescriber's written order. A medical card is not a written order. Okay, so we can put that aside. Well, that's already been answered. It's been answered because I tried that and it didn't go anywhere. So you can get, if you have a prescription for a Schedule 3 substance, ketamine, anabolic steroids, Tylenol with codeine, any of those, you are allowed a 1-month supply and 5 refills for a total of 180 days from the date on that prescription until you have 6 months, and then that prescription is invalid. And if you have leftover tablets you're walking around with in your pocket on day 181, you will be arrested for felony possession of a controlled substance because the prescription has discontinued. So the only reason that a patient can handle or possess a controlled substance is it flows through the doctor's DEA registration through the prescription to the patient. That's the only way we, who are not prescribers, can handle or possess a Schedule 3 substance. Does anybody these are the questions. Will we have to report to the PDMP? Will everybody have to will they have to be applied for and be approved for a DEA registration? I had to go through fingerprinting, background check. I have to renew it every 2 years. If you have anything.
Yeah, Tony, I am like hearing how much you get all of this.
So if I had
to get this, you already know all the answers to all
But I will
questions.
say, Katie, that he gets it from the pharmaceutical side. I have to say, it
sounds like he gets it. I was just going to ask about the cannabis. So how do you deal with the cannabis side? Like, what do you produce on the cannabis side, Tony? At your dispensaries? What do you have? Well,
we have our building. It has a little quirk to it in that it has a tax line that goes kind of through the building. Okay. So it's all one building, but it's 2 separate addresses. So the pharmacy license sits on one address, and 10 feet away across the imaginary line sits the cannabis license. So
it's like the original. It's like.
Can I ask you another question? Go ahead. Sorry, Adam.
No, it's like our original medical when we had the medical on one side and you had your rec on the other side, and it was just like
never the two shall meet.
And then you're like, well, why can't I have that? It's like, no, sorry, man, that's over there.
Tony, you did say something really important though. It sounds like our biggest advocates on the cannabis side. And when I say cannabis, I mean what we have right now, okay? Not what the pharmaceuticals are going to produce, the companies that are going to produce. It sounds like our biggest advocate are going to be the states, the 40 states that have legislation, because like you said, they cannot give up that tax revenue. As much as they want to say it's not as much as they would like, they do not have a way to fill the coffers yet until pharma comes in to backfill, right? But I don't think they're there yet. I think we will have people like, Polis in Colorado, whoever is California at the time, but I think they're going to be our strongest advocates to pretty much force a negotiation, because they're going to just say, we can't give this revenue up. We have a system of taxation and oversight, and we need to keep that going, or else.
Or maybe like business owners right now really start to align with pharmacists in your area, and like
they're gonna have to. They're gonna have to.
You know what I mean? Like
literally have to.
I feel like as a pharmacist, Tony, do you get a lot of inquiry about cannabis? Do you get people that are curious? You're prescribing these other Schedule III drugs. You see that we're definitely in a time where these are being abused in ways. They're not being taken for like what they say. That's So this is a powerful solution for a lot of that. How do you approach patients now that come in and have questions?
There's for many drugs, for many prescription medications, just to be more specific, there are certain prescription medications that universally prescribers, pharmacists would all agree are not good to take. Okay. Any of your opiates, they're highly addictive. It leads to a spiral of just taking more and more, and eventually you lost control of pain and such. Everybody universally agrees it's better to not take an opiate or take an opiate substitute than an opiate. Same thing with sleeping medications. Same thing with tranquilizers, diazepam, Klonopin, Xanax. I'm sure we've all had them, and they're fun every once in a while. But for people who are on them long term, they create structural changes in the brain. And you can't just go off of Xanax. You can't just go off of Restoril. These things have to be tapered in a very slow and gradual way.
I'm so happy to hear you say that, because I came off of all those things. Every single thing I came off. Fentanyl, I came off of all the things that you do not come off. Cold turkey. All of my anesthesiologist, everybody was against it. And I started smoking weed. I started, and this one thing got me off of so many different nerve medicines and so many different things. And so I'm just curious if, like, because you get to talk to patients across the board, like how many things, you said sleep and some pain stuff. I'm just curious about like any of the other neuropathy, that's a big one.
Yes.
Some of those are scary ones. We talk about the painkillers. However, there are some of those drugs they give you for the neuropathy that are a lot scary. They're like fentanyl level scary for your body and what you go through.
Sure. Look, gabapentin, for instance, that's not technically a controlled substance, but it acts very much like a controlled substance. It still has a tremendous addictive potential to it. Tramadol, which used to not be a scheduled drug, then it became a Schedule IV, I believe it is now. Is another good example of drugs that are opiate-like in their treatment of pain, but they're less addictive, but still quite addictive. And, you get up to these high doses trying to control pain. And one of the things now remember, I got into cannabis as a pharmacist. It was to do medical cannabis in a pharmacy. That was the whole idea, for the intended reason of being able to migrate patients off of those dangerous medications and try to transition them onto something that would treat and give relief. Anxiety is something that's not always very easily curable. Things like ADD are not always very easily curable. When you have chronic pain, that's not something that can just be fixed. So we're in a management mode. Now, what are we going to manage it with? Are we going to manage it with something like cannabis that you could take as much as you want? You're not going to die from taking too much cannabis. You might wish you were dead. I'm
going to have a time though, Tony. Yeah.
So, I always say to people like, well, what happens if it stops work? Take more. You can take more. It's not going to cause respiratory depression. That's really what the opiates do. Is aside from the addictive potential, even fentanyl, you die from respiratory failure. That's what it does. It stops your breathing. So cannabis doesn't have that risk. It doesn't have the same, oh my God, I've got it. You don't wake up.
Well, you think it. Yeah, you definitely think
I've got to have it,
Yeah, you definitely think you're going to die. That's just part of the deal. But that's the fun part.
but the whole impetus, and Katie, you look like you're probably too young to remember this, but I think
very much. I appreciate you, Tony.
There was the whole idea of cannabis came from, in California, patients who had terminal cancer or full-blown dying of AIDS. They had pain that was uncontrollable by any other means, and those means were the same opiates back then as we have today that didn't control that pain. And it's honestly, it's the inhaled form of cannabis that is the most effective. And that's sort of where we have this like, how do you reconcile these things? Because, look, the gummies are great. Everybody loves the RSO. You can dissolve it under your tongue. It's been shown time and again that the most effective, efficient form of cannabis is the inhaled smoke.
Thank
you. The vapes are good. Vapes are good. It's still for whatever reason, the inhaled flower product is the best for these.
It's the quickest through that blood-brain barrier. It's the quickest through that blood-brain barrier. And that's what I really, truly believe about these microdoses. Our body is brilliant. And our body is not going to, our body is made to be efficient. And it's going to use what it needs if it has access to what it needs. And so that's why I love the microdoses. I'm so happy to hear somebody, because Dave constantly talks about how nobody would ever tell you to smoke. And the reality is this is really healing if you do it that way. Your body knows how to naturally microdose. Like you said, you're not going to take too much. You're going to be uncomfortable. Like Adam said, you may feel like you're going to die. And the next day you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I got to go down and get more of what Tony has, because that did the thing.
But it worked.
But just to give you an idea, and Dave, you mentioned this earlier about the prescription versus the non-prescription. We actually do have quote unquote prescription cannabis. It's a product called Marinol. Came out in the 90s.
Worse.
It wasn't very effective. It was a little like a little gel pearl thing. It was Schedule 4, ironically, Schedule 4, and it just didn't work. And it's because it was a synthetic THC derivative that they developed. Which is what pharma will develop if it goes prescription only. It's all going to be chemical derivatives, and you're going to lose the healing qualities of the plant in its purest form. But it just didn't work because it wasn't the inhaled form, and it was used for just nausea, is what they said it was used for. The results were terrible, but it made it through the FDA trials, and there actually is a prescription quote cannabis. We know it doesn't work. So why do we want to go that way?
Because they make more money that way.
Look at it. What was that?
Because they make more money that way.
They didn't make money that way.
But
and that's why it's like what their move is. What is the move?
Well, their move.
You know what? Great question, Katie. Great question.
What is Pharma's move here, y'all? This is so wild.
We are making this so easy for them. And that's why I scream as loud as I can about this. We are killing ourselves, because everybody thinks if it's Schedule 3, that means we're going to make a lot more money as dispensary owners, as people in the industry, and we'll get tax deductions and this and that and the other thing. They don't understand that there won't be an industry if it goes that way. And we're doing it to ourselves. I mean, nobody is the biggest advocates industry advocates. Our biggest industry advocates are typically governed by the MSOs, and the MSOs are all for this. Why? They're all probably going to, if this goes Schedule 3, they will sell right to pharma and retire on big piles of money for them and their shareholders. And then the rest of us are going to be picking up the pieces. And that's what I don't want to see happen. In pharmacy, we're, as practitioners, we're subordinate to the prescriber. Good, bad, or indifferent. we have to do technically what the prescriber says. What I so enjoy about where we are now is I actually can be a medical practitioner of sorts, because someone comes in, I have this, I have this, I have this. I'm not constrained by the Food Drug.
You're allowed to recommend it, right?
Yeah, I can say, you know what? Let's try this. Let's try this indica. See how it's doing with your sleep. Let's try this new RSO. A little bit under the tongue. One doesn't work. Take a second one. Let's see how this goes, and see how we do with that. And I don't have to answer to anybody. Okay, it's just like prescribing a nutritional, a nutraceutical, any sort of homeopathic remedy. When you think of the historic success of something like any of these homeopathic, any of these homeopathic medications homeopathic products that are out there, you could buy them in health food stores and everything else like that. And because they're not technically deemed a drug, you can say, okay, well, this is good for a toothache, or this is good for nausea, or this is good for menstrual cramps. You can say that. You can't say that once they decide to reclassify and it becomes a drug. You get to only say what the FDA says you can say. And that's where it's not that I'm against research. I think the research is positive, because if we can find a prescription version, for instance, if there's some form of the drug that they've experimented around with and, oh, wow, look, we tweak this chemical here and we can make this prescription cannabis. Let's say it does something crazy. Let's say it cures cancer. Okay. But you can only get it by prescription. All right.
Okay.
That would be a good thing. I think we'd all agree it would be a good thing. But I wouldn't give up this entire industry as it exists today in the hope that maybe somebody discovers something that's good in this one instance. We're able to get creative and experiment with this plant, and we've had great success with it. And I, the rush to turn this over to the federal government, to me, is quite shocking.
Yeah, I mean, well, the one sort of silver lining that I see is that maybe all these realities start to kick in when people start to really dig deep, and they start to realize, like, well, wait a minute, if we do this is not going to. Now, how are we going to get our tax money? Once they figure out that there's no tax money, that's like all cards are off the table at that point, because then people are like, well, fuck, that's all we're here. Like, you can get your 280E.
Well, maybe that's how you get it changed before it even gets there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So maybe descheduling has a hope still, because I think at a certain point, if you can present the descheduling option where it frees up, you still get your tax money, because that wouldn't that make 280E disappear too? Wouldn't that just, if it's descheduled, there's no 280E on
correct, right? If it's not federally illegal,
right? Then it would just
federal Schedule 1 is what creates the 280E and that problem right there. So if you descheduled it and you treated it like tobacco or alcohol. Yeah, and when I say treat it, like federal treatment of it, which is kind of like the states just do what they want to do with it, that kind of maintains this market. And keep in mind, we were talking about our biggest advocates being the states that do have it. Our even bigger advocates are the states that don't have it, because they've made a decision that they don't want it. And when you reclassify it to Schedule 3, it's legal. It will be legal in all 50 states, whether you want it to be legal or not, because that's what the Controlled Substances Act means. States can't opt out of the Controlled Substances Act. No. That's not the way it works.
So do you think there's a way that, because, I don't know how many times Adam and I have seen stuff that we've talked about other people make money off of.
Everything.
Okay. Maybe this is where we don't sort of let it pass by, that we invite people in and we create what we think is our fantasy set of rules governing. I mean, if we sat at a negotiation table and the federal government agreed to still let the states handle smoking flower and cultivating flower and whatever, like we'll call it a first-gen extract is, rosin and BHO. Nothing that goes beyond that on the molecular level, right? We're just isolating cannabinoids. If they let us have that, they can do whatever research they want. I think that would be a good solution for the industry. The states could still keep their dispensary system running. It would not be federally illegal, but they wouldn't have to, do it like ATFC, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and cannabis. They could still do research medically, and they can still prescribe derivatives of the cannabis plant. But until we start telling people about this and saying this is what we need, they're not going to believe us because they think they get that with Schedule 3. And I don't see how those two mix.
Yeah.
That's what's so frustrating, because you are 100% right. There is no reason that we can't pass a federal law that solves all these issues and allows the industry to exist. And just like we have Marinol, which was a synthetic derivative of, whatever, I forget exactly how they did it, but you could have prescription, derivatives, but if it's the plant in its form or the forms that we recognize today, if that's left alone, well, all right, tinker with whatever you want. Just like Marinol didn't work. I mean, this may not work, it may or may not work, whatever they do, I don't know, but you're not taking what exists away. Yeah. And that's the big point. But our problem is this: all of our loudest voices, all of the stakeholders that should be saying, let's sit down, let's put together, we all heard about Project 2025, right? Last election, they were talking about the Heritage Foundation, and that was a big buzzword. That conservative organization put together all these different initiatives that were like a wish list. Where is our industry doing that? Where is our Project 2025, where we say, no, we don't want hit the brakes on this reclassifying it as 3. This is what we as an industry envision for our industry. Something that, Dave, you just basically laid it all out. I mean, that's what we need, but we've got nobody advocating for that. If you hear somebody like me get,
Dave, why don't you become a lobbyist? You'd be good at that. You're quite the schmoozer, my friend.
Flip them some bagels.
Yeah, as they know, I am a recovering politician. I was an elected official in my hometown for about 20 years.
Okay.
I'm out of politics.
This matches, Tony. Okay, this matches.
Yeah. So it's I mean, I think that if we did that, it would be a win. It'd be a big win. But we don't have anybody advocating it. I mean, other than me and a few others here or there on LinkedIn.
We need to write the V.Minniti manifesto. The V.Minniti manifesto. Okay? And it outlines...
you have a really unique perspective, and I appreciate it, because coming from working in medicine, I can see it like that. It's like, that's just not how it goes. And then also just being a little bit of a rebel, I'm like, good grief. Come on, you're going to just obviously not tell me what to do, ever. That's nuts.
Yeah, and the other problem with the reclassification becomes, while there is the medical aspect of this, it still is a recreational product. So if you reclassify it and it becomes a drug, and it with a medical use and blah, 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 how are you going to get it recreationally? What about the people who, they just like to pick up
they just want to smoke up,
tablets for sleep, it's all going to be gone. And that's what I keep trying to reinforce to everybody. There is no recreational component in the Controlled Substances Act. There's no recreational cocaine. There is no recreational ketamine or anabolic steroids. It is in or it is not in. So one of two things has to happen. You either have to create a special classification within the Controlled Substances Act, which might be very difficult, or you come up with a creative legislative package that maintains this industry as is, but opens the door to research. And I'll be honest, I don't believe for one second that doors are closed to research on cannabis. They throw that out there. Oh, research. If they want cannabis researched, I guarantee you it's been researched. I guarantee you that if you look at the patents, there's patents all over the place that we don't even know exist yet. And
it's not like
the research is a red herring that they keep throwing out there. Well, we can research it. If you want to research, you can get waivers to do research in hospitals. They look at LSD. I mean, those were all researched. So
Yeah, no, I'm wondering what
how
all of this is
research
actually about. This is interesting.
Money, 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 money.
It feels
Katie,
less about money to me.
no, it's
Sorry.
about. It's always
We're a
money.
very
Only about
unhealthy
money.
culture, and this
It's
is
only about
something
money.
that could literally benefit all. Maybe this is like what brings all the industries together instead of so many fractures, because this could affect so many different industries here on a lot of levels. You know what I mean? Maybe this is like what actually happens. We all sit down and smoke a joint together and come up with solutions that are like, hey, we're not going to allow government to take more control over our like given rights to these plant allies.
Here's a perfect example, and I've been saying this for some time. ADD is, I think, probably one of the most over diagnosed conditions that there is. The rubric to diagnose ADD is so faulty in my estimation. But doesn't it make more sense to maybe try a microdose of a more sedating, cannabis formulation for a kid? Or is it better to put them on Adderall, which is really 3 different salts of amphetamine? It is literally meth. You are giving kids meth. When you're giving them Adderall, meth, you might as well give them meth. Yeah, that's really what it is. If you look at what Adderall is, it's 3 salts of amphetamine.
Yeah,
and you're putting this, and
What
you're
could
putting
go
this
wrong?
in a developing brain. We're not even talking about after 21 when the brain's largely formed.
I was
You
gonna
are
ask
putting
you like about
amphetamine
how
into
you
a
felt
developing
about
brain.
some of this stuff. I'm glad you started talking about it, because I was gonna ask you how you felt about some of this stuff. Some of the things that are prescribed in lieu of cannabis, where cannabis directly would be like, oh wow, you have like, and this is also like a multi-pronged approach as community, like where we would have to tell them to like stop fucking with our food, stop fucking with these kids on so many levels neurologically, where it's like feeding babies things that humans don't need to be eating, being on the screens, all these like different, that would be like a multi-pronged approach.
No, you're right. I mean, believe it or not, I do believe that, cannabis fits squarely in the Make America Healthy Again move. I know it seems crazy to say that, right?
I don't think so at all. I think this might be the ticket, is where like, okay, we are going to have to sit down and have some conversations about.
But I think that, RFK Jr., I think he has his mind in the right place, in that he wants cannabis to be legitimized. I believe that that's what he wants. But at the same time, I just don't think if you're not in the business of drugs like I am, you don't understand what this, because common sense is different. Like, right? You just said it. Well, if it goes from 1 to 3, that's better, right? Well, no, it's much, much worse, but it actually contradicts what makes sense to most people. And unless you have a full lifetime of dealing within the Controlled Substances Act, you don't understand just how draconian of a control mechanism it is. And that's why whenever anybody talks about placing something within that Controlled Substances Act, my back immediately is up, and I'm like, you really want to think this through. But I mean, Dave, you are 100% right. We should be advocating a position paper that takes all the stakeholders into account, that talks about the industry, the pluses, the benefits, why we don't want it to be reclassified, why we've got something. Believe it or not, we've built something really good in this industry, and I can tell you that because I'm in pharma. Okay, I know how bad it could get. I have more regulation on the pharmacy side to sell a bottle of aspirin than I do on the cannabis side. As crazy as that may seem to you, that's how hyper-regulated pharmacy is. And it wasn't always that way. And little by little by little by little, under the guise of health and protecting people, and it is a horrible, horrible way to try to be a practitioner under that sort of regulation. I don't want to see that happen here. We have a good thing with this industry going. We do. Could it be better? Yes. I think 95% of the problems go away when we fix 280E. and we start treating
we
it
keep
fairly.
just screaming deschedule. We keep just screaming at the top of our lungs,
But
so
we
that
can't
everybody
keep
can hear us. Deschedule. Share that with everybody that will listen.
But we can't
Deschedule
keep
is the word.
screaming it when we have people within our own industry who are now totally behind reclassifying to Schedule 3.
Okay, why? I'm curious to know why. What is
because
there like? What has made them flip? Just that they
No.
think the taxes, like what you just
they
said.
have
that's not even
made up
guaranteed.
they have made up a fantasy in their own head of
Okay.
what cannabis looks like without 280E, without really understanding that it doesn't solve that problem, just like Tony said.
Right.
And if you have people that are going and using their national platform, like Bill Maher, who supposedly is like the most famous stoner right now outside of Snoop Dogg, and he's all for Schedule 3 because he thinks it legalizes, he's not speaking to the right people. And you know what? We are one away from him. So that the person who we both know, Adam, is probably listening right now. And you should get Tony together with Bill. Tony should appear on the Bill Maher show to really explain what the future of this industry could possibly be if we don't get a hold
Tony,
of
you're
it.
actually a really good, like a phenomenal person to be able to do that too, because you can speak to both sides.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that compliment. That is very kind. And look, if you
and you got a history in politics, come on, Tony, get back in. Right. Let's get a campaign going. We'll have you federal.
I am a recovering politician. And I will never be in. I'm never relapsing. Let's put it that way. But
I used to lobby, and I still would lobby for stuff. However, it does take people like you that are brilliant to like speak up about stuff like this. So
it is. I see what I see happening is I see where the big money is, and I see the way good-hearted, good-intentioned, well-intentioned people in our industry are being fed a load of bullshit, and they're not going to understand until it's too late. And my whole goal with this is to wake them up before that moment, because once this thing goes, if this ever becomes reclassified as Schedule 3, you will never get it out of that CSA. And once it's in the Controlled Substances Act, as I always say, Control Substances Act. Control. It's right in the title. That control is exerted by the DOJ, the DEA, and the FDA. Is that what we want? I don't want that.
Those are exactly the companies we want to have less control, y'all, of everything.
I mean, if you could get, Bill Maher to read my, the latest thing I put together was about as quick as I can do it and something that somebody can read. But I would gladly go on the show and have this conversation with him, because I always tell people attack me as if I'm against the normalization of cannabis. I'm not. There's nobody who's more pro-cannabis than I am. That's why I'm taking this fight on, because I don't want to see it seized away from us, because we all of us, and we all stand on shoulders too. We built this. The federal government didn't help us. Nobody helped us. In fact, they did the opposite. In every state, in every instance, every dispensary, company, everybody that's done this from the first 420 has all been about the same thing. We built what exists today. The infrastructure is successful. We changed hearts and minds. Neighborhoods didn't collapse because a dispensary moved in. We're not walking around looking like zombies because people are stoned all the time. Alcohol use is down. When is the last time you've seen a generational shift down from alcohol? These are all things that we've achieved. And we are this close to just handing it away to people who opposed us every step of the way. Every step of the way.
It's our own fault, Tony. It's our own fault. How did we get this far? Colorado collected $3 billion in tax revenue since cannabis was legalized, but yet we have no really powerful lobby. That's
Tony
a lot
for
of
cannabis
money.
president. There we go.
That's a lot of money for our industry to take in and not have true representation on a federal level. because whoever is speaking, and it's to both sides of the aisle, because Biden was all for reclassifying to Schedule 3. That's what started this whole conversation. So it doesn't, Republican or Democrat, it doesn't matter. The only person we ever had on our side was Gary Johnson, and they ran him out of politics because he didn't know what Aleppo was, so there are so many ways that we're fulfilling your prophecy that we can't get out of our own way, and we're going to hand the industry over to them. So maybe it's up to us. Maybe we find some other more articulate industry leaders and we sit down and we write something up. And I know you don't want to get into politics, Tony, but there's no one better to represent this movement than you. And you had to know the moment you wrote that on LinkedIn that this was a potential outcome, because when you have people that run the largest infused products companies that make more gummies than anyone going, yes, woohoo, Schedule 3, you go, whoa, they've convinced you, because you'll have some immediate exit right away. There'll be some sell-off for those big companies to sell their IP to pharmaceutical industry. Okay.
Hey, Dave, they'll buy the whole thing. Terra Ascend will be bought by Merck. Pfizer will buy, Curaleaf. The infrastructure's all there. It's built. It's built. All they have to do is go in and buy the company. If you buy the company, they've got the infrastructure, they've got the distribution, they've got the formulations, they've got the products, they've got the outlets, they've got it all. It's all right there. So big pharma is good. You will see. That's why these MSOs are so celebratory. I mean, I guess I would be too if I had something and I personally was going to benefit from Google or Apple or somebody buying me out. But what does that do to the rest of us? And that's that's a whole other thing about that's why I see the problem with this country is people will they'll sell out
we can't be selling each other out like that. That's crazy.
That's become the American dream, where it used to be like to have a house and a family and all that. And now the American dream is to build a company and within 2 to 3 years sell it for multi-millions of dollars.
50x.
And never have to deal with that thing that you loved again, which is weird. And then cannabis, our problem is that most of us, we love what we're doing and we love the plant. So we have this problem of like wanting to ever get away from it. So we don't want to sell. We're not a big, some people, there's plenty of people who have come in and built something and sold it within a few years. But for the most part, I think most of us are kind of like lifers. You know what I mean? We just want to kind of like, that is our problem. We're not thinking like a capitalist American agenda that these guys are, It's just, so that's kind of I guess that's on us a little bit.
I guess I'm blessed with a little bit of a unique perspective from spending over 2 decades in the political arena, albeit a smaller one. You learn the way the process works. You learn the way politicians think. And I get news for you. We politicians are not exactly smart. You got to, you have to explain something to us in about 5 minutes, and it's better be basic. That's why so many of them can't wrap their heads around, politicians can't wrap their heads around this, because you have to actually know in-depth detail about the Controlled Substances Act. It just, and if you explain it in 5 minutes, you'll focus on you'll be able to write off taxes and it won't be Schedule 1, it'll be Schedule 3. And isn't that much better? And everybody's just, yeah, sure. And what's so just disheartening is the biggest companies and stakeholders in our industry are the ones leading the charge over the cliff. And that is what is so frustrating about this, because they've got to know. I sent that, I guess it's d-not3.org, that link. I think I sent it to you, Dave. Someone sent that to me. It's just a very basic way of breaking down my manifestos. It really just does break it down into a digestible form that's somewhat easy to understand. Schedule 3 means this, and bang, bang, bang. But I just keep going back to why these people are not asking these questions. Is it going to be prescription only? How could it not be? What about DEA registration? What about the fact that if you have a speeding ticket, you could lose your DEA registration? I mean, that's how restrictive it is. And you have to be a DEA registrant to participate in the Controlled Substances Act. You have to be. You know, maybe not every individual bud tender, but the principals of the company do.
Yeah.
You know, and how many of those companies are legacy operators that were supported? They're not going to get the DEA registration. The DEA does not give two shits less about you were a legacy operator. Your community was, you know, disproportionately impacted. They don't care about any of that. Do you have a felony conviction? Yeah. Okay. You're not going to be arrested. You're out. Period. It's that simple. It's black and white.
Well, you lost 99% of the industry when you said speeding ticket. Okay. So,
well, I think you can have a speeding ticket, but no, any sort of felony, anything. They, you know, if you get a DUI, done. You're not going to get a DEA. You'll never get. They'll suspend your DEA registration.
Right.
Yeah.
And you got to renew it every so many years. So you got to keep going through this process. It's not like a one-time thing. It's constant renewals. It's fingerprints. It's FBI background checks. It's all this stuff. So it's
sounds fun.
How many people in our industry could
withstand
that?
Really?
Well, it's the same. Like anybody got into the industry has been through this background checks and stuff. And the reality is, you know, in the beginning, half the industry that wasn't even allowed to be in the industry because we all had like all the best players, all the best growers, everybody who was really dedicated, who had like, you know, lifelong connection to the plant. No, because all of them had some sort of problem from before. Then they loosened it a little bit. More people got in. But at the same time, it really shows you quickly how, like, if you're not able to pass the criteria, then you're out, you know. So, and
the states can develop their own criteria right now. If it's reclassified, federal government is the only criteria. So right. Jersey can have rules that are different than California, than Colorado, than Nevada, you know, Pennsylvania. Everybody can have all their own little fiefdoms and rules,
caveats.
And, you know, I believe that that's always the best way is let the states, you know, make their own little things. And that's really kind of how we were supposed to be as
different people. There's different people in every area and they have different sort of stuff.
But all that goes away. You are under the umbrella of the Controlled Substances Act and it's federally dictated and there is no deviating from it.
Right.
You know, and that's it. I mean, so, you know, why anybody would think this is a positive, they're either ill-informed or they've got nefarious reasons. Well, I find them to be nefarious, but they probably like the reasons. You know, they just want to make money. You know,
well, that's not nefarious. We should just point that out. Wanting to make money is not nefarious. However, they're not aligned with us, and we're not going to have the same end game. So
no, they're going to cash out. They're going to take their money, buy a couple houses or a boat or something like that. And then the rest of us will be left to try to pick up the pieces. And, you know, look, to the people that, you know, tend to be detractors of mine and talk about, I have ulterior motives or somebody said I was pearl clutching. I felt like saying, hey, you find it to be pearl clutching. I find it to be extremely concerning that you're not pearl clutching. You should be more upset about this. I have a DEA registration. I have a pharmacy. If the worst were to happen and this did undergo reclassification, hell, I'd be the only game in the country because nobody else has a pharmacy and dispensary that are just there. So if it did get reclassified and everything got sent into chaos, I'd be the only compliant facility in the nation. So, you know, I secretly should be rooting for it to be reclassified, but I don't. I don't want that.
So where's your office in Denver?
What'd you say?
You need an office in Denver?
Hey, listen, it's not that hard. Believe it or not, these are not very difficult to set up. The pharmacy dispensary hybrid.
But no, I imagine it's quite, it seems like you've streamlined this. And that's just,
I mean, and look,
it just is unfortunate that I feel like we can do better. We can do better than to just
we can,
let
but
it go.
It requires us to get these conversations have to get out there, you know, into the mainstream.
Yeah.
I've reached out to the administration. They I've sent them what I've done. I don't know if they've looked at it or taken it seriously or not. You need somebody like a Bill Maher. You need somebody like a Jon Stewart. You need somebody like a Joe Rogan. These are the type of voices that should be looking at what I've developed, and they should be the voice that's championing this. I mean, listen, I love you guys, and I really appreciate you hold me in such high regard, but I don't even think that I'm I'm a virtual nobody in this stuff. We really need people like those mainstream people that can amplify that voice to millions. This gets on Bill Maher's show. Joe Rogan starts to talk about this, and I can tell you, Joe Rogan would probably be like, I'll use his exact words. He's going to say, "What the fuck?" Rogan is. I thought he was a cannabis guy. You definitely know Bill Maher is not going to be happy if he.
Can you imagine Tony on Joe Rogan's show? You guys, everyone would just be looking at your arms the whole time. It would never end. It'd be a never ending.
Joe Rogan's.
Hold on, we know that guy. What's his name? We know the guy who's friends with. Yeah, we know somebody who's friends with Joe Rogan.
I feel like you're planting all kinds of seeds.
Interesting.
All these seeds are being planted in these conversations.
It is historic in that Trump took that step, even though it's a symbolic one. He took that step. That's a positive. It shows that the culture around cannabis is changing. We're agreed that it's good that it's changing. We have to be careful about how we change it, though.
Yeah,
and that is the important next step. What we do now is the final but most important step that we take. How do we do this in a mainstream way that maintains our industry, that allows medicine and research to experiment with the plant and maybe come up with whatever, as long as it doesn't interfere with what we've got here? Rescheduling is like taking a sledgehammer to the industry when we don't even need that. All we need to do is rearrange chairs a little bit. Yeah. And that's really what we need. We don't need to take a wrecking ball to the house to move the kitchen table. But that's what we're doing with this reclassification.
So, Tony, when you do eventually appear on Rogan and Maher and Jon Stewart and sit across from these, world influencers, I'm just throwing it out there. Find a way to mention that the first podcast you appeared on was the Adam Dunn Show, and just get our name out there in the same sentence somewhere.
Look, you see, I always make sure I always have the branding prominent, so I'm going to go with the Adam Dunn flag here.
There you go. That's even better.
I love it. Yeah.
We might have to go with the actual show logo,
I'll
not
make sure
the
it's
flag.
a medium. I'll make sure it's a medium, so your guns are extra exposed there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got to have a medium. I don't know if they're vanity things or whatever now, but I only fit in mediums. Every time I put on a medium shirt, I think of that Seinfeld episode where he came back and they were all mediums and they didn't fit anybody right.
Yeah.
And now I am wearing a medium.
We
I
will
love
make
how
sure.
we always somehow bring Seinfeld up in one of our shows.
It's always
that's a sign.
I'm mistaken for Seinfeld constantly. So,
really? That's funny. I love that.
I can see that.
Come up to me. They'll come up to me and say, "Hey, can I get your autograph?" I said, "I'm more than happy to sign it for you, but you're going to be really disappointed when you see it." And then I say, have you ever seen what Jerry Seinfeld looks like today? I mean, while I'm happy that I look like in 1990 Seinfeld, I mean, the dude's an old guy now.
They're mixing up Chappelle and fucking Seinfeld because Chappelle got all jacked, right? So then they're thinking like, well, maybe Seinfeld did that. Maybe he retired and then got all jacked up after. But no, you're definitely not the same body. I can see people getting.
Now you said it.
You fucked it.
You said it, and now I can see it. I didn't see it before.
I had more hair when my hair was puffier back in my 30s. There was a lot. There was a real good resemblance.
Yeah, you had a crossover period.
I love it.
I'm pretty sure Seinfeld, there's a story that he tells where he was walking down Manhattan with somebody else really famous, and they recognized the person standing next to Seinfeld and asked Jerry to take the selfie of the two of them, and he did a third one with him in the shot, and he still didn't recognize who he was. So be
That's
happy
funny.
that you get recognized for Seinfeld, because he doesn't even get recognized as Seinfeld.
I don't think so.
That's hilarious.
But look,
love that you
I
get this
think
down right there,
think
too.
the positive takeaway from having you for the past hour is that, you know what, I'm somebody who I flee confrontation. I'm not into it in my regular life. Put a microphone in front of me and I can be very confrontational. But I don't think this is one that we can all walk away from. We've been sitting on the air. I'm sitting next to him almost 7 years in March. He's been doing this 13 years. It was the stuff he did that was considered totally taboo that eventually became the Cannabis Cup. Okay, so this is stuff that we can't walk away from right now, because if we've been preaching this industry that we love for so long, and so maybe we do need to sit down and put something together that you have on paper and shop it to everybody we possibly can, to get it in front of the governors of all of the states that have legal regulated markets, because Colorado's a relatively small state. And if we sold tax revenue over $3 billion in 10 years, then we need more governors to come on, because that's going away if what you've said and what we say is the result of, Schedule 3.
I can tell you, I never, in all my years in pharmacy, we don't really do a lot of over-the-counter stuff, but I mean, the amount of sales tax that we pay, when I tell you it's less than $100, and that's on $30 million in revenue in the pharmacy, it's not taxable. So prescription drugs, I'm fairly certain most states are. If New Jersey isn't taxing prescription drugs, I'm fairly certain nobody's taxing prescription drugs, because in Jersey they tax everything.
Right.
So,
and even if they were, it's not 38%, which is what most markets in Colorado are paying. Okay.
Yeah, we're not 38%.
Right. So it will be a lot less than that. So the law, it goes in the loss column in regards to what they'll take in.
But I mean, listen, no state ever wants to lose tax revenue. And I think that's something that none of these governors or states attorneys general are really looking into. And look, and let me tell you something, Kate, you brought up a really good point earlier. I think that you said, doctors don't want any part of this. Pharmacists, by and large, don't want any part of this. They do not recognize cannabis as legit. So if the doctors aren't going to prescribe it and the pharmacists aren't going to dispense it and it goes Schedule 3, well, now what are you going to do? And that's what I mean about how dangerous this is. If this does become a prescription drug, you're only going to get it if the doctor writes a prescription for it. Doctor's not going to write a prescription for something that doesn't have a fully detailed patient education insert that they can refer to, because it's a malpractice issue. So they got to make sure their asses are covered and they don't want to get sued. So how are you going to have access to it when doctors don't want to write it and most pharmacists won't carry it?
I mean, I really do think at the end of the day, it's probably going to be the fantasy that the industry has right now will probably become law. It will be eventually work out, because there is no solution when it comes to, prescribing the cannabis flower. That's never going to happen. They're never going to give up the tax revenue, so it's going to have to wind up being regulated like tobacco. It
exactly.
just is,
and that's
yeah.
Or I think a nutraceutical would be the other angle to go for, because that's also where it's another avenue, because nutraceuticals are outside of the controlled substance.
That's too much in our favor. That swings the pendulum too far into our court.
But it would make sense, and I think in the ability to get it out to the people still in normal. And well, again, that would be smart. We wouldn't do that. Why would we do that?
Exactly. So. That's it. It's too much in regards to it being like a negotiation. We get too much that way. Hey, shush.
Well, as I said, I am going to continue to work my my back channels to continue to try to get this out there. As I said, I had to get in. I did not believe that this executive order would do anything. It doesn't. As I said, it's symbolic. And it should, you know what, continue to be a wake-up call. I think we were all starting to nap a little bit on this issue that was continuing, and that executive order has reignited the debate again. And here we are having it, having that conversation again about what reclassification means. It seems like when it pops up, we all rally and we get involved and, we feel like we're getting somewhere. Then it goes quiet for a while. So maybe this is what we needed. And that executive order, really gives us the level of urgency that I think we need to act on this.
I think we are all in agreement with that. I mean, we're going to have to do something. Thank you so much for your time. And I appreciate you taking...
Always, thank you, guys.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you not coming on knee-jerk last week until you actually read everything, because we would have had probably way more questions afterwards. But I still am going to reach back out, because there are some people that we can put you in front of, because you are a much better face for the potential of fantastic on both sides. You show that it works. You're an example of what we have right now works. It really does. And really don't fuck with it. Other than I cannot...
Back the fucking Quaaludes!
I cannot I can't be anything but behind finding that true medicinal side of cannabis, where somebody could really prescribe something that would be administered in a hospital, or when you really need it. And we're not there yet. And if we keep going, maybe we can get there. Thank you.
Sure. Look, expansion into that realm is beautiful, as long as it doesn't tamper with what exists. And that is the key.
Well, you guys know how to get in touch with him. He's Camden Apothecary on Instagram. It's Tony Minniti. He is really one of a kind right now. Hopefully you won't be one of a kind, and we'll get more people to sort of, I don't want to say, smoke the joint, see the light, but recognize that Schedule 3 does not just relieve you of a tax burden that was established because of a cocaine trafficker back in the 80s. And that's what Schedule 3 is all about. And so, we talk about it. Everyone's forgotten what it was. It was for cocaine. And they
mean 280E? You mean 280E? With
yes, sorry. So we have a lot of work to do. And
well, on top of that, it's the most basic thing. Like, yeah, you get to claim all these taxes, but are you going to be in business still? You know what I mean? If you're not in business, there's no taxes to claim. So basically, it's kind of nulls each other out, at that point. So go with the, like always, status quo is the way to go. It's always, it's been that way for a long time. Or deschedule or nothing really. It's all my.
Gents, let me tell you something. Ronald Reagan was the one that said the scariest words you'll ever hear are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how successful our industry is with no government assistance, intervention. Basically, just okay, you guys are doing this, but we're not going to pay any attention to it. Look what's been built over the last 25 years without the government involved. Do we really want to invite them into this? The states, they got this under control as best they can. Some states are doing it better than others. But one broad brush solution from the federal government over top of all of us is a recipe for disaster. We built this without the government. Let's keep building it without the government, or as little government as we can get. That would be my thing.
For sure. I agree.
They've done studies,
That's a great bookend there, Tony. Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right. Guys, always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tony. Sorry.
All right. Good night, guys.
Hey, have a good one,
sir.
And then Katie, you come in with the bass.
That's so funny. Sorry, guys. My I had everything plugged, just not plugged in.
Well, I think this is kind of like what the same thing with oh, I'm not even going to touch that one.
We do
I heard
that.
Vinny and Mark laughing aside. This is so similar to the way psilocybin got legalized in Colorado. We had this amazing grassroots Travis Fluck led ordinance.
No joke.
from
I'm watching
Denver.
Melanie's dog, and I was going to talk to her when she got back about, like, who do you actually talk to that would be like, hey, this is not the way to do it.
But this is how we went. We had this amazing foothold on decriminalization of psilocybin. We had it led by people who knew what they were talking about. They started moving it through legislative channels. They had an Amendment 61. And then at the 11th hour, right when signatures needed to go, big fucking money came in with Amendment 58. And they kind of stole the thunder by just talking about legalizing psychedelics. And no one talked about what the background of that was and how about Amendment 58 was going to turn it over to physicians and make it completely controlled by somebody who went to some training class to learn how to distribute and discuss psychedelics. Well,
$3,000 trips and shit. We were like, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
And that's what we have. That's where they're going to go
That's where it's at.
with cannabis. It's
Anyone
the
with
same thing.
$5,000 can access my medicine. My integration course is sold separately.
All right, Vinny gets a raise. I want you to, Adam, pay him a little more than what you
Well,
normally
they
pay.
listen to people with titles, and he's got those
There you
titles.
go.
Yeah, it's so, and you know, really, I think we're very lucky that he took the time to talk to us, because somebody's going to recognize how knowledgeable he is on what the future should look like, and where he's going to have an agent, and we're never going to hear from him again.
Of course.
Yep. I don't think so. I think there's a lot of really
I'm
brilliant
kidding.
people
He'll
in
always
the
come
community.
join us.
I think there's a lot of really brilliant people, and I think that there's definitely solutions. It's just the way my brain
I'm going to
works.
get him in touch with our friend, and who can talk to him about Bill Maher. And I didn't even think about it.
That'd be cool.
Our guy that we from Vegas, that is friends with Joe Rogan. You know,
the ski guy.
Yeah, the ski guy.
I'm telling you, you get Tony on there, it'll be fun. They'll just sit there and talk about fucking all sorts of crazy fucking supplements shit for like hours. It'd be like, won't even try. They'll do 2 minutes on schedule 3, and then it'll just be like, "Ooh, look, what are you using over here? What you got? Are you daddy or not?" You know, and you know he's not. So,
yep.
Yep. Well, at least
at
least my description was perfect, right? I said I'm bringing in the big guy, and he fucking delivered.
He did deliver.
Yeah,
he delivered.
He's wonderful. I'm so grateful that he came and hung out.
I mean, he's
with me.
just jacked. How about that, man? He's got guns like Mark does.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's why.
I was gonna start asking him like some biohacking questions, because he definitely works with some interesting compounds, being on the pharmacist side.
Oh, you're gonna get on to compound.
Oh, my best friend's a pharmacist, you know, Tori's a pharmacist.
Right.
And they're like, it's like what he said, the majority of our medicine all is derived from plants, you know, so he's like, what he said, let them do whatever weirdness they're going to do. And I'm curious what interesting molecule that they've what they've,
well, wait,
they've already got.
I'm going to write you a prescription for Liz.
What is it about cannabis, right? There has to be something that they can attribute towards the way it works with glaucoma, pain, general relieving of anxiety, and then,
I'm curious,
and then
like
the big
what
C, cancer.
I'm curious also about the research. Like, where are they gonna, like, what research are we focusing on?
It'll be all. It's like what Adam said earlier. There are already tons of patents that we don't know.
Well,
about.
that's exactly what Tony said too. It's like they already know all. Like, what else? I'm curious. Obviously, more research forever, because you just never want to stop learning more.
Male pattern baldness and boners. That's what it's going to
I
start
told you
out
guys.
as.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah.
saying that's what I'm talking about. Boners and fucking hair. That's all you got to do. And you will. Or ED,
Cha-ching!
or
Cha-ching!
And you will get all the funding your
I
heart
mean, if you can't get
desires.
boners, you may be ED. I don't know. One of those.
My dick doesn't work.
I mean, I feel like cannabis even calms your nervous system to a place where you would be like excited about intimacy. You know, if
Okay.
you're like really stressed or you're in
Oh my
pain, you're not
God.
really like thinking about intimacy. And cannabis even helps with all of that.
Oh, there are a jillion white papers on cannabis and arousal and intimacy.
Hey, to the chat has realized that you're really stoned right now.
That's funny.
The chat's fully aware that you're really baked right now.
Just now they've come to that conclusion. It took this long.
I've been baked all day since I woke up, chat. Thank you for seeing me.
Well,
No, I don't feel good. So I just been staying really high and I don't really take edibles too much anymore. Or I'm in pain. And
I knew it was edibles already. I could tell right out of the gate.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it was like the eyes don't lie.
I still showed up, guys. I love you all so much, chat. I pray you all had a phenomenal holiday season.
But do you really?
Thanks
do you
for
know
coming
them?
to hang out. And there's so many people in this community that are fucking brilliant. This whole community is full of really brilliant people.
Yeah, everyone's a brilliant
I
person,
took a glance
apparently.
at the chat today.
I definitely know that there's people out there that have
Brilliant.
even the MSOs. Like, what is their bottom line? Do they believe that the taxes will
In
be
another life, we
effective?
were all
Or
rich.
Katie, you have such a big heart. You remember
I'm
you
never
say
gonna stop being that way. That's
no
crazy.
one is trying
I'm
to
not
tell
gonna ever choose.
you're
to,
not.
like, not
Wait,
be-
look at you jumping to defensive. That's not. I'm not attacking you. I'm
Okay.
supporting you, and I'm telling you, you should use your heart
I'm
for,
high, okay.
for good, and not to defend a fucking MSO. They care about money, money. Unfortunately, they don't have our interests at heart.
I call myself the plant medicine pirate.
That's all they care about. So that's why we have somebody like Tony, and there are others out there. There are people.
There are people out here because this definitely is. Yeah.
There
Just
are
get Tony and Danko together. There you go.
Hey, Tony and Danko.
We need to get him on a bigger.
Just keep having conversations around it. That's how
Bigger than the
solutions
Adam
come
Dunn
up.
show? I
It's
don't know if
like-
that exists, dude. I think we're the biggest.
Pretty big.
If we were Adam Dunn Show 2023,
I think because I think this definitely affects enough people for
No, I think
people to
Bill-
be
I think
like
Bill
having
Maher-
conversations around solution-oriented approach.
Bill Maher and Tony.
Bill Maher and Tony's a perfect combo because Bill Maher, he'll run circles around Bill. Bill's fucking doesn't know shit half the time. He's like, thinks he does. And then that's the problem is you got people out
got
there.
him.
The same thing that happened with Joe. Like Joe, he knows a lot about weed, but he doesn't really know a lot about weed. So like at the end of the day, I'd hear him talking like, yeah, my friend hit a couple dabs and like lost his mind. Like, get the fuck out of here, Joe. Like, so there's times when he doesn't know what he's talking about, but everybody thinks that he's like the fucking godfather. So it's kind of like you got to get him. But Bill's the same situation. Like, yeah, he smokes a lot of weed. You have your friend that's with him. I have my other friend who hangs out with him and smokes it now. But it's like, it's a difference of knowing and being a consumer. He's a consumer. He doesn't really know. You know what I mean? He's just a consumer. And he wants to be high all the time, which is fine. But when it comes to politics, he doesn't seem to know shit. And when it comes to actual cannabis, like anything, I don't think he really knows much. You know what I mean?
well, it'll be
No, I don't
interesting.
really. I've not
Jim
really.
Belushi knows more.
And he just made a movie, so he made some money.
He's the worst.
But he knows more.
What was that?
Ever seen?
Big
It's
Sir Hule.
interesting too because cannabis,
he's running a
like,
business.
go ahead.
You could get
He
Mike
knows
Tyson.
Hey, stop it. He knows by running a business, and you learn quickly all the ins and outs of everything. But he also rides a horse through the fucking greenhouse, so he doesn't really know. Like when you ride a horse through a greenhouse, you pretty much are no respect at that point.
That's funny.
What about Mike Tyson?
Oh,
Shut up. That's
Vinny,
really funny.
we heard you say it the first time, and we
No,
ignored
you
you.
cut me off.
You had
Mike
to throw
Tyson
it in.
also he's also very pro Schedule 3.
Yes.
He was the first one out there saying this is great, it's legal. He didn't know what he was talking about either. So at the end of the day, that's half the time. If you're a celebrity, cannabis celebrity, very far and few between actually know.
Actually, hold on. But we should say that the only reason Tyson and others, and I'm sure Cheech and Chong brand are for it, because they want to sell the product, is
Yeah,
because they just have a it's misunderstood in regards to what the law will eventually look like. It's what camp do you fall in with? Amendment 58 or Amendment 61? Right, for psychedelics. This is what's happening right now. If you're falling in with 58, you're Schedule 3. If you're falling in with 61, you're for D schedule. And we know what happened with that here in Colorado. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, just look it up. It's mushroom legislation, the Natural Medicine Health Act, except it's not that. It's the Natural Medicine Corporate Act. It's not. On paper, it doesn't do what the spirit.
Well, okay, what actually are, but that's another one that the legislation, I don't know. That's interesting that you talked about that. We should talk about that again. Because I'm curious what's going on with that too.
Oh, yeah, I noticed those names. Tying in with Danny Jones or Julian Dory. Those guys pull 1 million views within an hour type shit.
So,
yeah, but he was right.
Never heard of them.
The aliens into the story, or else they won't watch. This has to be.
Yeah, you got to bring it in from weed in ancient Egypt or from Turkey.
Exactly, and then somehow, what do you think about Schedule 3? Oh shit!
Oh damn!
Y'all watch some crazy people.
So next week we'll have an opportunity to talk to Lance Lambert from Grove Bags, and maybe we'll catch his perspective on what changes in the market if it goes Schedule 3 for an ancillary service provider like Lance, who provides bags to the regulated market. Would that go away? Would that be the end of would you not want
Would it now come in those little things at the pharmacy?
No, it'll go back to film canisters, because you wouldn't be able to buy the packaging anymore, because they would track whoever buys large amounts of packaging to sell cannabis, and then they'll get you that way.
Wasn't Todd McCormick on Danny Jones?
How about those Pop Tops in the beginning in Colorado when everything was in Pop Tops? It was so annoying, dude. It was
I was gonna just look for my little film canister.
Your whole house was filled with those fucking things, right? And it was nobody would recycle them. You're not allowed to recycle them. You're not allowed to do this. It's a nightmare.
Actually, you could recycle them. You just couldn't recycle them to a dispensary. You had to recycle them as...
Yeah, that's the thing, is you couldn't throw them away because you felt like you're an asshole every time you throw them away. So you'd be like, well, I'll just collect them in the corner of my room until it was this giant monstrosity of fucking pill bottles. And you feel like a total junkie because you're like, look at all these pill bottles lying around. It's pill bottles and dirty Q-tips. You look like a fucking disaster. You know what I mean? It was you instantly looked like someone came in your house and you'd be like, you are just...
What are you doing?
Wait a minute. Speaking of empty containers, Katie, didn't you ask me for 300 bag containers?
Reuse everything.
You asked me for all those used I have 500 used rosin BHO, these fucking things.
I ended up getting so many gifted to me. I asked you that day, and that evening, my friend brought me over a whole bunch of...
You wanted empty ones?
I have used ones that I can't bring myself to throw away, so that I just have them in bags.
You just save them. There will be a use for them. I like to save things. If you have the space, just save the things that you think there will be a use for, no?
Yeah, but I should be getting rid of
them. And I also have all kinds of things that I pray become useful one time because they're taking up space.
Yeah. Yes. Speaking of taking up space.
So Mike Denver saying that Colorado, Dora is about to issue mushroom licenses next year.
That's so funny. I was going to text you, Mike Denver.
Well, hold on a second.
I looked down and I was thinking Dora the Explorer. For some
what
reason.
Does that mean? Mushroom licenses? Is that to the practitioners
to sell mushrooms? I think.
But I thought that goes against the spirit of Amendment 61.
I mean, I don't know things.
We'll talk about that another show. Mike
Denver, come in and talk to us. Don't try to communicate third party through
Let's
Mark.
Keep everybody. Thank you guys for holding it down.
Oh yeah, you're not high.
I off on tangent. I'm super high.
Go back, listen to the show, Katie. You'll be impressed. You're like, wow, my eyes didn't open up the entire show. I haven't seen your eyes yet.
You guys, I'm unwell. I'm here in my pajamas, just showing up for it.
You're not supposed to talk about that until Patreon.
I'm just.
That's right.
Oh yeah, we have Patreon still. Okay, you guys come hang out with us on Patreon. I'm curious what people have to say.
I think we just broke Mark's heart. They figured he thought because Adam and you were both not in studio that there wasn't going to be a Patreon, he could just leave, which will probably just happen. So
you never know. We can keep it. We can do a shorty.
Yeah, we can keep it super short or not at all.
Or not at all.
Look, where's the Lookmeister? I have to
I
look
feel
for the
open. I'm sorry.
He never showed you because I made the comment, why doesn't he bring weed and rosin? And you were like, oh, he's always going to be packing.
Yeah, of course. But I didn't tell him, like, Dave's asking for weed. Otherwise,
he knew. He just didn't show up.
No. He knew I wasn't going to be there. That was the problem. Big star.
That's right. You're a big star.
Big star wasn't going to be there.
That's right. He's like,
well, anyway, let's do some ads on the ADS. What we're named after. We're named after ads. We have to do ads. We know that.
So High Cafe.
That's a thing.
I don't know anything.
We're still here.
Oh, good.
We'll figure it out at the beginning of the year.
We're still here.
I think the best compliment you could give a restaurant is to say
you're still here.
How much you love the food. And I got to tell you, I'm finding ways to go out of my way to show up here during the week to grab barbecue.
Yeah.
It is absolutely fucking fantastic. Somebody asked me the other day, they said to me, that guy Vinny you said that runs the place, does he come from a long line of barbecue people?
Yes.
And I went, yes, he comes from the accumulated knowledge that is found in said cloud.
Yeah.
And he does something, and I even do add that I said, you know what, we on occasion will butt heads. So to give him a compliment is you have to really take that as a weighted thing for me to do that. It's kind of like if I was going to give Mark a compliment, that would be really tough. But
it is.
The food is fucking amazing. I will say that you might, if you had a fork and your friend had a fork, and there was only one bite of mac and cheese left, you would fight over that last bite of mac and cheese.
To the neck, one fork to the neck, just straight to the neck.
Straight to the neck, and grab the mac and cheese with your hand.
4300 West Alameda, So High Cafe.
Come visit us on Thursdays and Fridays.
Thursdays and Fridays, come do it.
And you know what? There are people out there that want to give their opinion. So if you want to come down and broadcast from this studio and have your own podcast,
oh yeah,
you can do that.
You can have Minniti on your own show.
You got content?
Yeah.
You got content.
This is equipment. You have content. This is a platform.
You have a studio.
You have a studio.
So High Studios.
And don't forget the taqueria. Hamburguesa, por favor.
Seedshere.now.com. Buy cannabis seeds. 15 years of excellence, 70 plus elite breeders, and guaranteed satisfaction. Breeder of the month is Dominion Seed Company, and I believe cookies is still the flavor of the month in December. So
December.
All the
some
cookies.
flavors, though. There are French cookies.
Ooh, French cookies.
Ooh la la.
Parlez-vous français?
Good stuff. So check them out. IWantClones.com, SeedsHereNow.com. Longtime supporters of the Adam Dunn Show. Get the Dunn deal.
And everybody, you need to go buy some seeds. Okay, buy seeds.
This is the year. This is the year. You got
stock up, dude. Because
who knows what's going to happen next year?
Oh yeah, they could be all gone. You better stock up,
dude. You might have to get a prescription for your seed.
Oh shit!
My God.
I'm just kidding.
So if you were watching me tonight, I sat here by myself and smoked a joint. I used a Yo Tip. So you go to yotip.com. In fact, Yo Tips are going to get a call from Bova's in Boulder. I walked in today, and they had a whole rack of papers and raw tips and pipes. And so I said, how many people come in here and buy them in like a small group? And he's like, all the time. I'm like, well, here's a $5 upsell. You sell them a 4-pack of Yo Tips, and you tell them this is how you stay safe in cold flu, wook flu, conference cough, and hippie lip season.
That's right.
It makes any joint hit better. It's a fantastic company.
You say joint.
I said joint.
I heard doint.
Well, you know what? You're on whatever it is, Skynet, or whatever
like
you
doink.
do an Elon.
I heard a doink.
I just almost died from not using the Yo Tip. I hit my joint, and I don't have a Yo Tip, so Yo Tip is just... I'm bummed I don't have one tonight.
You got to check them out at Yo Products LLC on Instagram, and you can always tag them through the show, yotip.com.
Thank you, Jesse.
ozocoffee.com.
So we're getting to that time of year where we might wind up entering Done Deal 2025, and it goes, it doesn't work. And you're going to look down and you're going to start typing it again, and it doesn't work. And you're going to go, what's today's date? And if it's in January, you might want to try Done Deal 2026.
Yes.
Okay, we'll let you know. But this coffee is so amazing.
Cabin
What was that
time.
bag I just brought in? Katie, you said bring coffee. I brought a five
I
pound
just don't
sack
feel good. Thank you so much. I would love some coffee.
of Guatemalan. The Peruvian is amazing. It's kind of like every place they had great cocaine in the 70s, they now grow great coffee. So you want to go to ozocoffee.com. You want to enter Done Deal 2025, and you're going to get 20% off your coffee shipped to your home.
Yeah.
Buildthesoil.com. Excellent production value there. Mark. I love
this is where we should have Miles would have jumped in and he would have been killing it. But what Miles
Wooka,
did
shoulda,
on the last
coulda.
trip was that right now Build a Soil's prices are better than ever because they have eliminated you can't even go shopping there normal like you used to. You have to actually order it to get it picked up. It's very organized, but they got shipments going out every day. So this is a good time to look back into Build a Soil's lineup because things that you might have thought was a little expensive have now literally halved, so
his prices are insane.
Exactly. Crazy Jeremy's prices.
And get the Done Deal. Buildthesoil.com.
Use the Done Deal on your checkout. Get yourself a little extra bonus on that one. So not only are they cheaper prices, you're going to get cheaper prices on cheaper prices.
Get some
now
Wook
that's Done Deal.
ferments.
There you go.
Wook ferments.
Heck yes.
Kaya Cannabis.
I love these guys. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you.
They're wonderful.
How many locations? 4?
There's
3?
3, I think.
You go into any of the Kaya Cannabis locations, you tell them you heard about it on the Adam Dunn Show, you will get a discount off your order. They carry every infused product there is, and what makes them different than other dispensaries, they are still controlling their own flower production. They have an amazing grow, was started a long time ago. They're following the same SOPs, and they're producing the same quality. So you go to kayacannabis.com or Kaya Cannabis on Instagram.
DabX.
Dabx.com. That's all you need to do. Dabx.com, and anything you buy from their website after you enter Done Deal at checkout is 20% off. I'm pretty sure right now you can still get a Go, which comes with a cleaning kit, and after you enter the Done Deal code, it'll be shipped to your home for $159. I just don't think there is a better deal in the industry right now. And look for big things coming really, really soon from them. Dabx.com.
Heart and Soul Project.
Brett, our buddy Brett.
Yep.
He's wonderful.
You need to buy their CBD while they can still stay in business. Hopefully we can save this thing and they can keep going. You go to Heart and Soil Project on Instagram. You go to their website. You tell them you want the Done Deal, and you will get a discount.
14 or bolder.
Oh, look at that. They changed the website. While we don't have a discount going with them right now, I still love these guys. They've supported us for years. You go to 14orbolder.com, place a pre-order. Every strain they have is fantastic. Their rosin is fantastic, and their BHO is processed by Apothecary.
Grove Bags.
Lance will be on the show next week, so if you have questions, you want to know what they're going to be doing, he'll let us know all about what Grove Bags has in store for 2026 with global domination in mind. So you go to grovebags.com. Tell me you want the Done Deal. The terp block difference, it really is something. I came across another bag of weed. I have no idea when Adam gave it to me. Sometime between now and 6 years ago. And I'm not saying it was moist. It wasn't bad to smoke. So you go to grovebags.com.
Moist.
Terpwipes.com/Done Deal.
I heard him.
That's all you need. That was Vinny. That was Vinny.
Oh, no, you got to repeat anytime somebody says moist.
I love these terp wipes, actually.
It really is an amazing product. We're very lucky to have Yo Tips and Terp Wipes supporting us for years. So you go to terpwipes.com/done deal. There's no need to enter a code. That's how you get the discount. It'll be automatically applied at checkout. Again, if there is any issue after the first of the year, someone just write to our show email, which is faceabase@gmail.com, and we'll get it taken care of for you.
Weed Zins. Somebody wrote Weed Zins. Oh, that sounds good, right?
Numbnutsco.com.
I would do that.
THC and CBD infused nut butters delivered straight to your door.
A little smidge in the middle of there. Suck on that for a while. That's your weeds in right there.
I have no idea what you just said, but we're talking about numbnuts right now. So you go to numbnutsco.com. You enter Done Deal at checkout. You get 20% off. And check that out. What's 20% off of $35? Come on, we need is that
$7?
$7 off. So this is that's like $28.
$28.
So come on.
That stuff is wonderful.
1,500 milligrams. I believe it's going to be 500 of each, THC, CBD, and CBN. I'm going to just say this is the product you can eat a little too much.
That's the one that will put you to sleep for a couple of days.
Oh,
You'll wake up and be like, I just need to go back to bed.
Just
I
look
need
at
a
Katie,
snack
that'll
and I
be
need
you.
to go back to bed.
I ate 3/4 of a jar the other night just so I could finish it off to take a photo so that I could post it. And I was fucking loopy in the morning still. So it is a quality product. Don't take too much. Numbnutsco.com.
All right.
I've been doing Weed Zins since like 10th grade.
Hell yeah.
That's funny.
JeromeBaker.com.
Vinny's talking about the
with
60s.
cannabis
No,
culture.
it's when you would get all your weed ready and like throw it into Jerome Baker and you just grind it up and throw all the resins and all.
Oh, Vinny,
You
you're
did
so
too.
old.
Really?
You're so old.
You're gonna
See,
eat
Vinny's
that.
I even
Vinny's
said
doing generational joints right now. He's got his third generation
Yeah,
joint.
he's got his third gen joint. Yeah.
Third gen joint that he's got. He's been re-rolling them.
I told the group chat we were worried about Vinny being at his age.
No
we have to
way.
be careful. Yeah, at
Wow.
his age, he's got to be careful. He can
Yeah,
throw a
it's
hip
my
out.
birthday on Tuesday.
He can throw a hip.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys are so
JeromeBaker.com.
funny.
Support cannabis culture. Get a
Buy a
tube.
bong. Come on.
Do
Buy
it.
a
They're
bong.
so
Do
cool.
it. Do it.
HolosHealth.org, Colorado, MMJ cards, and nationwide psilocybin microdose therapy. Get the done deal.
I wonder if he's going to sell mushrooms.
Conbud.com. If you're in New York, give these guys a try. Go in on a Saturday and see Danny Danko.
Make sure you get
Look at the big picture.
HortitechDirect.com.
Listen, I'm tired of asking. I'm
One
telling
week
now.
somebody's going to buy one.
Buy a fucking greenhouse. Come on.
Yeah.
Not like
You
that.
need a greenhouse, please. It's just an amazing product. See, the reason why you might not be happy with your current greenhouse is because it's not a Hortitech greenhouse. They have versions right now that could survive a North Dakota winter, a North Dakota storm, minus 70 degrees, with it being 72 inside. That's 142 degree delta. Okay. HortitechDirect.com. Tell them you heard about it on the show.
cool.
You will get a box of 10 brushes. 10 trim brushes. Not 1, not 6, but 10. And you will get 5% off your order.
HortitechDirect.com. And get your cult jacket, dude. Jeez.
You're all in our cult.
I mean,
Be like our buddy
Uncut
Bush, the ultimate Adam Dunn Show fan
with the Crip blue jacket.
with his
Detroit Lions.
Mark, I love you.
Kentucky blue, I have to tell you.
What school is that though?
That was perfect.
Maybe.
That's fine. Jamal Murray went to Kentucky, I think. So that's.
Oh, is that okay then?
That
I
would
guess
be
that's
okay with me.
Now we're okay with it.
I'm probably wrong about that, anyways. But anyways,
Buy a jacket, get a pack of seeds. All you have to do is send us a photo of you in the jacket.
Said jacket. Make sure it's not photoshopped. We can tell.
No,
we know.
You're gonna send it to faceabase@gmail.com.
Like your head stuck in the middle of that picture is not going to work. So
No, not gonna work.
I need to see you doing something. The motion.
you know the greatest thing is that no one emails the show because I never get anything.
We don't have the best. Yeah, our listeners are not the email types.
No, they're in the chat though.
Yeah.
They're like, we chatted, we did our work. We've done it all. Oh, the reason why I was also about Patreon is that Sunday I'm having a special Patreon because we're doing the Blood Tenders Ball thing over there. So, so that is on Sunday. So that was the reason I thought we would.
This Sunday?
We're having yes.
Okay, so we don't have.
To pay attention
Where
to
is the Blood Tenders Ball?
Ball?
No, I got an email on it. Where is it, though?
Called Go High Cafe, my friend.
Go High.
It's the third. It's just the third. It's the third round. It's the third round of the thing. So very simple.
All right.
You got it. You got it.
Okay.
And I heard Howie's going to be entering, Vinny.
Okay.
So now we're talking. Party. Now we're talking.
So is it gonna be like the version of Cocktail where people are throwing bongs in the air, spinning them up, and then serving it up?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. That's exactly what we do. That's you got it.
Vinny's gonna play Tom Cruise.
There's a chef again. There's food and everything. So it's all medicated food as usual. So slowly make your way.
This Sunday, So High Cafe.
Sunday.
Thank
Thank
you, Vinny and Mark, as always, for coming in. We love you guys.
Yeah, it's a pleasure
You
to have
guys
Thank
you.
you,
on.
chat. Thank you. Telly was on fire today. I glanced at the chat.
Telly was
He
out of
was
control.
gonna I saw you go and settle down, Telly. I'm like,
Calm the fuck down. Telly.
close window. Don't look. Look away.
Come on now.
Hopefully it resolved itself.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where it's like there's so much unknown shit, and really, he's only just telling you what he has to deal with, and what he has to deal with sounds like shit when it comes to like running a real fucking Schedule 3 distribution center of any kind of. So like, it's not like we have any experience, and I know Telly doesn't have any personal experience doing it, so he should just calm the fuck down, let the guy talk, and we'll figure it out. But or just we'll have a big cage match or something. I'd like to see Telly on, or arm wrestling. We'll do arm wrestling with him and Telly.
Well, at least at the end of the day,
all the perspectives. I'm curious to hear all the perspectives on it.
Yeah, and at the end of the day,
and insurance when we have TikTok and YouTube.
He's the only one that is speaking from a position of what if, right? He's only going with what has been broadcast. And what has been broadcast is that it's Schedule 3. No one has said it's Schedule 3 with an asterisk, and we're going to leave
And we'll
the
make
industry
exceptions.
alone. There's nothing like that. And I kind of think that I'm glad we're giving this an audience and we're discussing it. But I think after today, now that it's all kind of settling in, there's no way somebody like Governor Polis would not be fucking screaming from every bully pulpit he has about how there's no way we're going to allow you to take our industry away because we could not function. You'd bankrupt the state of Colorado. Cannabis is too ingrained in our tax system for it to go away without somebody immediately stroking a check. And I don't know who has billions, and that's just for one state.
It's kind of like also the short attention span that everybody has anyway, and really Trump's just going for like points right now. So it's like, I'm the guy. I made weed legal, even though he knows it's not legal. He didn't legalize shit. He knows it's not legal, but he's the guy that made the big change that fucking Biden tried to start, and that's all it is. It's literally points. And a week from now, no one's even looking at that. But it's our life, and it's what we deal with every single day. So for us, we have to. So it's kind of like just another distraction from the mainstream everything. And so I think we're not, as long as you look at it that way, like I think we're going to be fine in the sense that they're going to go like, holy shit, we didn't think this through, did we? No, you didn't. So now you're all hung up in these, because it'll just be litigation because people are going to go, no way, you can't do that. Like all of a sudden, oh, really? Okay, well, how are we going to clear this up? We have to go to court. There's the only way to do it is to go to court. That's fucking going to happen in every single state at every single level because someone's going to realize that they're going to make it impossible. It's literally putting yourself into a box that's impossible to get out of, you know what I mean? Which is kind of where they're gladly going down that road. But I think at a certain point, once they realize they've kind of bit off more than they can chew, it'll probably work itself out.
Let's just hope it's another distraction for another 20 years and it'll stay exactly the same way it is.
I mean, and it gives a good chance, for descheduling because all of a sudden somebody comes out with a real smart descheduling. Look at all these benefits. hey,
Yeah.
guess what? You get your 280E. Everyone's like, well, what the fuck? Why did we do that in the first place? It's like, because you dumbasses thought you had to go for some reason to Schedule 3. Like, that didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense from the first time they talked about it. Still doesn't make any sense. And it will never make sense. So that's the thing we have to our advantage, I think, at this point in time.
Yeah, is that it's nonsense.
Well, it's going to be an ongoing conversation, and
Oh yeah.
Oh, for sure.
So now apparently, according to Telly, Dr. Mark and somebody, who else? Who do you say? Dr. Mark and who?
I can't remember. Yeah.
They have it all dialed up, so we have to have Dr. Mark on to make Telly happy. It's like,
I love Dr. Mark.
Mark Bronstein.
Let's have everybody on, because even Mojave was talking about it on.
Yes.
Everybody. I want to hear everybody's perspective.
Yeah. No.
Thank you, Telly.
Exactly, and I was going to
Dr. Mark. Hell yes.
I wanted to give Tony the full thing today because I remember from the last times we had him on here, like even our drops will kind of fuck with him sometimes. He'd be like, "Wait a minute," so I didn't want to have it being too.
No, the Quaaludes one was spot on.
Oh, he nailed it with the Quaalude one, but for a couple of the other ones, he had no idea what was going on. It was just like, brain stopped working now.
Yeah.
Yeah. You saw it.
I did.
Happy Friday, guys.
Well, how about this for everyone listening? Maybe there'll be a Patreon. Maybe there won't. Tune in. If something happens, it happens.
It'll be short. Like I said, if anything, we'll just do a little shorty to explain what we're other little secret inside scoop stuff. Maybe what we should do is we'll reach out to our Wook and see where the fuck he is and get him on the show via Zoom.
Patreon.com/Adam Dunn Show.
Can't be an athlete, be an athletic supporter.
That's right.
That's right.
Go Colorado
Thanks
Sports.
for hanging out, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Well, bye now.
Shout out to you guys, and we'll see you soon.